Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us. We do have some people still coming into the meeting, and I will get started. So I think everyone should be able to see my screen. Uh, we are going to be talking to you about PREP, which is the bar admission program for Alberta, Manitoba, Nova Scotia, and Saskatchewan. And we will introduce you today to the program, how to get started with your registration, and some other tidbits of information that might help you get moving towards your bar admission program. So I'll start with introducing myself. My name is Jill Crockett. I'm the education manager here at CPLED. I joined in 2021 as education counsel, and prior to my role here, I practiced law for over 14 years in Alberta, both in private practice and as in-house counsel. I did my law degree at the University of British Columbia and also have an education degree from the University of Victoria. Today, I also am joined with a few members of our CPLED team, Andrea Rodic, who's our programs manager, Eric, who is our student services advisor, and Carly, who is going to be helping with our Q&A at the end of the session. So you'll be hearing from, I think, all of us through the course of this presentation. Just to help you understand how the flow will go, there is a Q&A box that you should be able to access, and you can type your questions in there as we go through the presentation, and then we'll have some time at the end for those questions. We are also recording this session, so if you need a refresher, please return to our website and you can watch it there after today. So let's get started. This just provides you an overview of what we will be going through today. So I will do a section around what the PREP is, which stands for Practice Readiness Education Program. And I'll talk about the structure of the program and the two different delivery options available. I will then pass the virtual floor over to Andrea, who will talk about registration. And again, Eric is going to talk about student services and how we can stay informed about upcoming events with CPLED. And we will end the session today with some questions if there are any. So the practice of law is really a profession that, oh, I am sorry. The practice of law is really a profession that involves more than just legal knowledge. Of course, legal knowledge is very important when you're practicing law, but to be really successful, lawyers need to demonstrate a variety of skills in their practice. CPLED has developed a competency framework to identify and focus on those skills that students will need as young lawyers as they enter practice, regardless of what substantive area of law they choose to focus. You can find the full CPLED competency framework on our website. And just so you have a bit of information, our key competencies really are focused to fit into three broad categories. Legal writing is one of those categories, which includes research, your writing skills, as well as drafting skills. The second category are the oral skills, so interviewing, oral advocacy, and negotiation skills. And then the final category of competencies that we focus on here in PREP is practice management, ethics, and client relationship management. PREP is divided into 4 phases, and I'll go into those in a little bit more detail. And they are all geared to help all of our students develop and practice the CPLED competencies. CPLED is, and PREP relies on being a professional program, and it's based on adult learning principles. So it might be a little bit different than prior experiences you've had in university or other courses you may have taken. It really allows students to take charge of their learning and proceed through the course in order to improve and develop their skills. We do focus on experiential learning, so allowing students to use their current experiences and past experiences to enhance their program. We use a simulated legal scenario in a variety of different ways throughout the program to provide students with practical and hands-on learning. Students have the opportunity to both practice and repeat skills while getting feedback from lawyers who are in the profession now and providing ways in which the students can enhance and improve their performance through the program. So you really see an emphasis more on that feedback and self-directed learning in prep than you may have otherwise experienced to date. Feedback is all provided by trained assessors. Our assessors are also lawyers, and they're really intended to help students proceed to the final evaluation, but also to enhance their abilities in their legal work and as they enter practice. So, as I mentioned, prep consists of 4 phases. You'll see the 4 phases on this screen. We'll go into more detail in each of them, but what happens is a progression between phase 1, which is really that foundational knowledge, and up to phase 4, which is the evaluation phase of the program. And you have an opportunity to learn, to practice, to perform, and improve your performance before you get into that capstone. What I'm going to highlight first is some of that key information for how to get started. So the gray area of this slide talks about Procertas. So once you've registered for PrEP, you'll get login information for Procertas. And Procertas is a program to help students practice and become more efficient in those commonly used software programs such as Microsoft Suite. So developing technology skills is, of course, important in today's practice of law, and it really helps the efficiency of your legal practice. So what we ask is that students have to complete Procertas for 2 programs, so Word and then one other, at the expert certification. We expect this to be about a 3 to 6 hour exercise, but of course, that will depend on the student's level of expertise and knowledge in the particular area that they're focused. Once Procertas is complete, then students can take the orientation program that is delivered on D2L, which is the learning management system that our course is based in. So it is an online course and you access the course material through the program called D2L. The orientation is online. There is a quiz at the end of it just to ensure that everyone's on the same page and able to navigate through that program. Once orientation is done and your Procertas is done, then you will get access to the foundation modules, which is that first phase. There is a schedule that we provide for the foundation modules, but you are able to work at that on your own pace. And the more detailed schedules will be available later this month, I believe, for students, but Andrea will speak to that more specifically. So let's talk about phase 1. The foundation modules consist of really that knowledge, foundational content that's going to form the groundwork for the rest of the program. It walks you through the different competencies that PrEP focuses on, and these are online self-directed modules. There are 14 in total. 12 are really content-based, and then there's 2 multimedia modules that are interactive. They have some activities and some assignments, so you become familiar as students in how to work within D2L. Each module ends with a quiz that does need to be passed as a completion requirement of the program. In terms of time, lots of students ask us how long these things will take. When we look at the modules, we do give a suggested schedule in which to follow. There is a deadline in which they have to be completed, but you are able to work ahead of that if you'd like. We estimate, and I will qualify this estimate, it will depend on how familiar you are with the content, how much time you typically take learning and getting familiar with content, but we estimate it would be about 100 to 110 hours to get all of the modules done. The next phase is phase two, and it's the foundation workshops. So these are 5 full days. They're interactive. They are online, but they will be live or synchronous as you go through all of the days. We do divide students into cohorts of about 30-ish students, and then within those cohorts into smaller groups that we call firm groups, and those are groups of about 3 to 4. And the workshops will go through a variety of the competencies that we focus on, allow students to become familiar with the expectations of prep. So you'll learn the assessment criteria and you'll get a chance to practice we uh, what we expect in terms of interviewing and negotiation, oral advocacy, as well as discussions around legal writing, legal drafting, research, and then as well as a lot of opportunities to talk about different practice management issues, ethics within the law, and client relationship management. The workshops are led by facilitators who are also practicing lawyers, and they often provide lots of examples from their own practice for students that give lots of discussion opportunity as well. The third phase is the virtual law firm, and the virtual law firm is where you transition from learning about the different elements and pieces that you're doing, and it really transitions you into learning from what you're doing. So you work independently through different rotations. We have a business law rotation, a criminal law rotation, and a family law rotation. The focus is on the competencies, but because it's a legal program, we use substantive areas as a backdrop for the content. So you'll independently work through a file in each of those rotations, and you will get the chance to have a client interview. You'll have a chance to do some legal research, some legal writing, legal drafting as you work your way through a client matter. And you have a simulated supervising lawyer who provides you with instructions. And then in the assessments, you get the feedback from lawyers who are looking at your assignments along with our assessment criteria, and they give you some constructive feedback as to how to improve and where you could expect to fit if you were being assessed for evaluation purposes at the time. There, just to give a sense of numbers, you'll again, once the detailed program schedule is set out, you'll see all of the different deliverables or assignments that you'll get. But again, there are 9 in each of business law and criminal law, and then 12 in the family law and real estate rotation. And that includes everything from the simulated client meetings to a reflection. And then ultimately, each rotation ends with a meeting with a practice manager. And our practice managers are, again, lawyers in the community that are able to talk to you about how you're doing in prep, how you're finding prep. If you have other questions about the profession, you can use that time with the practice manager, or if you have practice management questions about how to manage a practice or billings or whatever is top of mind for you at the moment. So again, with the virtual law firm, there are firm deadlines that we expect assignments to be handed in by, but you can work ahead to some degree if need be in order to balance the prep program and your articles if you're articling at the time or other work and life situations as well. The last phase is called the capstone, and this is the evaluative phase of the program. It is where you will demonstrate the skills and competencies that you've been practicing through the prior 3 phases of the program. Again, it uses a simulated file where you work through a number of different assignments provided to you by the supervising lawyer that you're introduced to at the beginning of the week. It is 4 full days, and it expects you to be able to deal with and address any of those key competency areas that we've worked through in the other phases. The hours are between 8:30 and 5 p.m. There's no homework, and it is expected that your focus that week is solely on the capstone. So we do ask that you are not doing any of your work for articling or other positions if you are engaged elsewhere when you're taking the course. Results are then available about 6 weeks after the final capstone of the intake that you're included in. The expectation is that you achieve overall entry level competence in order to successfully complete the capstone and to pass prep. So there are two different delivery models of prep. One is the prep program, which will start in as summer 2023, and it will be available end of May, early June, and it runs until the end of March is where the capstones will be. And it's intended to be part-time where you can work on it while you're articling, and you get to sort of learn some of the things you see in articling and bring that back to prep and be able to practice some things in prep and take that back to your articles. And so that's the traditional model, and it is one of the options. The other option is accelerated prep. So we did hear feedback that students found the longer program quite difficult when they had competing priorities and other things happening in their life. Sometimes learning styles are better suited for an accelerated version where they're focused on, one piece of the program as opposed to both doing excel or prep and articling. And some firms wanted their students to be in accelerated as well. So the accelerated program is a full-time version of prep. So we are expecting students to be focused really solely on prep, all, as if it were their full-time position. And it is runs from, again, the very end of May, early June until the end of August. And it is very compressed. I strongly recommend, if this is something that you're looking into, that you look at the schedule, that you consider the demands of the program and the tight turnaround times, because we have found students be very challenged by that. But we do know that this is something that's talked about a lot, and students are having an increased interest in it. So we do have an ability for students or firms to keep getting updates about accelerated and different things that are happening at CPLED. And so I will pass this along to Andrea, and she will speak more to that as well.
Thank you, Jill. I will share my screen if everybody just gives me 1 second. I believe I'm all set to go. Again, thank you, Jill, and I apologize to everybody for this delay. As Jill mentioned, my name is Andrea Rodich, and I'm the programs manager here at CPLED. And I will be talking to you about admission requirements and registration process for both summer prep and accelerated prep. To register for summer intake of prep or accelerated prep, you are required to have either proof of Canadian common law degree or a certificate of qualification or CQ from the Federation of Law Societies of Canada. Universities within CPLED participating jurisdictions, which are Alberta, Saskatchewan, Manitoba, and Nova Scotia, have historically provided us with a list of graduates as soon as they became available, and we hope to have these lists by the end of May this year. If your proof of graduation is not included on one of those lists, then a dean's letter will be required as proof that you have obtained a Canadian common law degree, and you will be able to attach that letter with your profile when you register with CPLED. As mentioned, all students with the Canadian common law degree or ACQ may register and complete prep or accelerated prep in 2023-2024 program year. Please remember that students with secured articles will also need to register with their law society as a student member. Students without secured articles may also register and complete either summer prep or accelerated prep in the upcoming 2023-2024 program year. CPLED used to offer winter prep intake in the past, but we will not be offering that in 2023. For more information, please visit our website. And in general, to stay up to date on all the latest CPLED news, you can subscribe to our e-newsletter on our website and follow us on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter. As for the prep tuition, the total program cost for prep or accelerated prep is the same. It's $6,100. What you may not know is that this cost is subsidized by the law societies for students who are registered as approved students at law or clerks with their participating law societies. Students have to be registered as a students at law or clerk members with their law societies for the law society subsidy to be applied. Updated subsidy amounts per province will be updated on CPLED website as the information becomes available from the law societies. Invoices will be generated at the time of the registration and they will be issued directly to you, the student. CPLED does not issue invoices to firms. However, for those of you that have firms paying your tuition, you can provide your firms with those invoices and they will be able to make a payment on your behalf following the instructions that will be provided directly on the invoice. Tuition payments can be made in full or per phase, and as Jill mentioned earlier, there are 4 phases in the program. More information on subsidy on tuition fees for accelerated prep will be available on our website in the coming weeks. Registration will open on our website, cpled.ca, approximately at the end of April. Schedules will be available on our website at the end of February. At the time of registration, students will register and select their desired schedule if they're going into the summer intake. And please note that all schedules, of course, are subject to availability. Once registration has been completed, an invoice will be generated and students are required to submit their tuition payment. Please remember that program materials will not be released until your enrollment checklist has been completed and your tuition fee payment has been processed. One thing to remember that it may take up to 5 business days to process the payment. CPLED accepts online bill payments, EFTs and wire transfers. Credit cards, e-transfers, and checks are not accepted. As mentioned earlier, for those of you inquiring about Accelerated Prep 2023, we would encourage you to sign up for update emails on our website. And as a reminder, final schedules for Accelerated Prep and Summer 2023 Prep will be available on CPLED's website approximately last week of February. And now I will hand it off to my colleague, Eric Pye.
Okay, thanks, Andrea. I hope everyone can see my screen there. Andrea, can you give me a nod because you're the only person I can see? Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, good. So my name is Eric. I'm the Student Services Advisor. I've been with CPLED now for going on 3 years since the beginning of the very, very first official prep in June of 2020. I also, prior to that, have about 9 years of career development experience working as a job search coach and career advisor. And that's important because a large part of my job is helping CPLED or prep students who are still looking for articles. So from prep enrollment to 3 months after completing capstone, student services can help support those who are still searching for an articling position through one-on-one coaching, resume and cover letter reviews, interview preparation, and anything else related to securing an articling position. We've helped numerous job-seeking prep students, with many securing articles during the prep program, and others finding work with a firm within a few months of completing capstone. On the Student Services page of our website, there are multiple resources that you can access now if you like, including resume and cover letter samples and templates, information about marketing and branding concepts for your resume, and instructions for contacting student services for support once you are actually enrolled in prep. Another resource available if you're seeking articles is the Student Resume Directory. You can see on this slide that there is a red circle around a gray bar at the top of the CPLED website main page and every other page. That is the link to the resume directory, and you can just simply click on that to be taken to it. We know that securing an articling position can be a challenge, and so this resource is useful to help students market themselves to potential employers for summer or articling positions. We don't track usership closely, but I've heard from several students that I've worked with that they found their articling position after being approached by an employer through the directory. How it works is that you would click on the gray box. The link would take you to the profile creation page where you would put in some personal information. You would indicate the locations that you're targeting for work, whether you are qualified to take prep or for articles, so whether you have your common law degree yet or whether you've got your certificate of qualifications. And that then you upload your resume and your profile is created. For registered prep students, student services will reach out to offer coaching or support on job search to students who create a profile there. Employers can browse the student profiles and reach out directly to suitable candidates about opportunities. One thing we do ask is that you not put any personal information like your address or your email or phone number on the resume that you upload because we want to protect your privacy. This is viewable by the public. The employers will be able to contact you through the address that through the email that you've registered with CPLED when you create your profile. Student profiles are live on the CPLED website for a year or until the student removes them on finding employment. And this is a free service available to law students seeking positions in one or more CPLED jurisdictions. Another important element of PrEP, and this is a service for all students, not just for those who are still seeking articles. An important element of any educational program is the opportunity to connect with and learn from fellow students. Often this takes place during breaks between classes. Unfortunately, in a virtual learning environment, this can be a challenge, and we know that during virtual breaks, students typically will take a bio break, they'll get snacks, they'll check their mail or whatever, and that little networking actually takes place when you're not physically together. So to overcome this challenge, we've created Prep Recess Roulette. This is an optional resource for all prep and accelerated prep students, where you can meet one-on-one online with classmates, learn about and from each other, and develop a supportive network for now and for the future as legal professionals. You'll typically get some kind of notification soon after the program begins about how to register. We're excited to be able to offer this opportunity for prep and accelerated prep students to connect, support each other, and grow together. Now, we did promise that we'd let you know how to stay in touch with CPLED, and these are some of the ways on the screen here. So you can connect with us on LinkedIn, Facebook, and or Twitter. You can subscribe to our e-newsletter. You can also subscribe to our Accelerated Prep newsletter on the Accelerated Prep page, and you can visit us at cpled.ca. You can also send us an email at any time with your questions at admin@cpled.ca, and a member of our staff will assist you. Now we're going to open it up to questions. As Jill indicated at the beginning, if you can put your questions into the Q&A interface on your screen that you can see, then Carly will read the questions out for us, and whoever it's deemed appropriate to answer the question will do so. Thanks for listening.
Thanks, Eric. First question is for Jill. We have someone asking, is there an estimated number of hours for phase 3, the virtual law firm?
There's not an estimated number of hours for the whole phase. We do break that phase up for you, and there are emails that you're responding to and assignments with deadlines so that you have that beforehand. And when you look at the program schedules, you'll see the time frame depending on which prep program you're in, summer or accelerated.
Thank you. And the next question is also for you, Jill. During the capstone, will the students have access to CPLED templates and other materials?
Students are able to have access to their CPLED materials as well as other publicly available materials. So one of the things that you'll be connected with when you're in prep is LexisNexis or Quick Law to help with doing legal research. So you are able to use that resource as well.
Thanks, Jill. And I do see that a number of individuals have their hands up. If they can just go ahead and type their questions into the question section on Teams, that would be great. We're not actually going to turn on the cameras or the mics for questions to be asked verbally, so please type your questions into the question box. Next question is for Eric. We just have someone asking if you could give a bit more information about the services when they're looking for an articling position that you offer. So how can they connect with you and get those supports while they're enrolled in prep?
Sure. So basically, on the Student Services webpage, there's a link that you can send an email to. Most students will start by sending me a copy of their resume, and I'll begin with a resume review. Those resume reviews, sometimes all I have to do is look at them once and send it back with some comments, and it's ready to go. In other cases, we may go through 7, 8, 9 rounds of revision and fine-tuning. At some point during the resume review process, we'll typically set up a one-on-one meeting. These are typically online. We can talk about what the student has been doing for the job search so far. I can give them some advice on best practices, both on, applying for jobs, on networking. We can do practice interviews. So basically, we can talk about LinkedIn. I can review a LinkedIn profile. It all depends on what the student is looking for help with, and I'll try to provide that. I do know that for a lot of students who've come through the NCA path, who are unfamiliar with job search in Canada, the cultural element can be a really important part as well. And so we can walk through that about how it works here and how that might be different from the student's home country.
Thank you. Next question is for Andrea. Can a student complete prep or accelerated without securing articles? Yes, sorry, can they complete the program prior to securing articles?
Yes, for the upcoming 2022-2023 program year, students can enroll and complete either summer intake or accelerated prep.
Thank you. Next one is for Jill. Have somebody asking, will each day of capstone include one day of law? So, for example, criminal, family, real estate, and/or business?
Not necessarily. So we do expect students to be able to deal with matters in either one of the three substantive areas, and your capstone will likely focus on two of those areas. But again, the ultimate review is the competencies, and so the substantive areas, we provide some tools at the beginning of prep as to how to get up to speed to the degree that you would need to in for our program, but also in practice when you're experiencing new files and substantive areas.
Thank you. Next one's for Andrea. So we have a student just asking, typically when does summer prep start? So they're looking at starting with their firm in July, and they're just looking for when roughly the start date will be for the summer program.
The registration, as I mentioned earlier, will open at the end of April for both summer and accelerated prep. And in the past, traditionally, summer prep starts June 1st. So students will will enroll, complete their enrollment checklist, and submit their payments, and we will get the list from the Canadian universities in our participating jurisdictions. And all that process is usually completed by the end of May. So for students that meet all the enrollment checklist requirements, including their Canadian Common Law degree or CQ, payment, and everything else that's part of that list, we'll have access to materials as early as June 1st. And usually the foundation modules deadline is then sometimes in August. So for those that start June 1st, there's quite a bit of time to work on the foundation modules before they move on to the next phase in the fall, which is the foundation workshops.
Thank you. Another one for you, Andrea. It's kind of similar, related. So this individual is will be they will be completing their studies at the end of the summer, so not the typical April. When would be the best opportunity for them to begin prep?
As I mentioned earlier, winter 2023 prep will not be offered, so the next intake of prep will be next year, with the registration opening up in spring and the prep intakes starting in summer for both accelerated and regular summer intake.
Thank you. And the next question is capstone virtual or in person for the 2023-2024 year?
At this point, we're planning for it to be virtual. Everything is sometimes subject to change, but that is the plan.
The next question is, is the first step to register for prep, or is it to register with their law society, or are they interchangeable? Which should a student do first?
For the law societies, I can't speak in detail to that. That would depend on the law society that you're registering with. So I would strongly, strongly encourage you for the registration with your law society, especially for your starting articles. You need to reach out to your law society and inquire about deadlines, paperwork required, and everything else. And then register for prep separately once you're ready to register and have would like to select the program and or schedule you want, keeping in mind again that you have to complete the entire enrollment checklist before you have access to materials. But the registration for law societies is completely separate from CPLED and prep.
What is the period for completing prep? How long does the student have to complete the program?
Right now, students have 2 years from the start date to complete prep. And for the extenuating circumstances within our policies, for students that run into genuinely extenuating circumstance, extension may be possible, but in general, students have 2 years. And our policies are public and available on our website for those of you that would like to take a look.
You. We do have a question here about, does accelerated prep impact what counts as your 12 months required for articling? I'm just going to answer that for you guys. Any questions regarding articling, we do encourage you to go and speak to your law society. That's not something that CPLED can answer. Your situation may be individual, but also in terms of the articling requirements. So any articling questions, please reach out to your law society. We do have, sorry. Next question is since they're waiting on the schedules, typically accelerated prep, when does that run? So when does it begin and when does it end?
Generally begins end of last week of May with the foundational workshops. So the 5-day foundational workshops running either last week of June or first week of April. And after that, going into virtual law firms with capstone usually running last week of August, just before the first weekend in September.
Thank you. And the next question is, so yes, the winter session has been eliminated for 2023. Do you know if it will be coming back in 2024?
I wouldn't have an answer to that right now.
Okay. If there's any other questions, please go ahead and put them into the question and answer section, and we'll address those. Just give us a moment to see if there's any more questions. Okay, it looks like there's no more questions. If there's anything else that anybody would like to address with us, please send us an email at admin@cpled.ca, and our staff will get back to you within 1 business day. Thank you everyone for joining us. And as mentioned earlier, this webinar will be posted on the CPLED website and shared on channels later today. Thank you everyone for joining us.